Hello and welcome to the MyHeritage webinar series. I'm Mary Pierre-Louis, your host, broadcasting to you live from Eastern Massachusetts. Today we have Leanne Kruger, who is joining us live from Alberta, Canada, for her class, Finding Your Canadian Ancestors on MyHeritage. Thanks to Leanne and thanks to the over 1,500 of you for registering for today's live webinar. So wherever and whenever you are, glad to have you with us. And now to introduce our speaker. Leanne Kruger is a professional genealogist and speaker specializing in Canada, homesteading for U.S. and Canada, video recording, family history, and using technology in all aspects of genealogy such as Google Maps, Google Drive, and Evernote. She's a member of the board for mitoydna.org. She's the Webmaster Database and Social Media Chair for Alberta Genealogical Society. She earned the AGS President's Award in 2020. She has published articles in BYU Studies Quarterly, Family Search, Ancestry, LDS Tech, SK Translations, ISBGFH, which she's going to have to tell me what that stands for, and AGS Relatively Speaking. Please put your virtual hands together and let's give Leanne Kruger a nice, warm webinar welcome. Leanne, how are you? Welcome to the webinar.
I am great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. And so what is ISBGFH?
It's an Ontario group, family history, greater Ottawa area.
Okay. Great. Nice.
Sorry.
Give them a little plug so people can check them out.
Yes. All right. Okay. My screen is on.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Now it's on. Perfect. All
Okay.
right. The time is all yours, Leanne.
Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. It's so nice to see you. What we'll be doing is going over how MyHeritage can help you in your Canadian research. The first thing I want to talk about is a table of records, though, which can be used anywhere. Then we'll show you a variety of records that will help you with the Canadian research. And I'm going to use famous Canadian people as well as my family, a few of my family members. Whenever you ask a Canadian or anybody in the world who a famous Canadian is, everybody will have a different answer. And that will be based on what industry, what work they're in, their hobbies, talents, where they're located, and their personal history. I've researched a variety of people in different areas and industries to kind of hopefully touch somebody that somebody knows. Some of the people I did want to include didn't have records in Canada or not long ago. And of course, I only included people who are no longer around for their privacy and for their families' privacy as well. So we'll talk about how to search methods, and the menus on MyHeritage themselves. The history and pictures are from Wikipedia, so therefore they are legal. I've also included some history that from the Canadian Encyclopedia. And this is a great website to learn more about famous people, but also about the history of a certain area that your ancestors might be from. I would check it out. Search your area if you're doing a one-place study, or even if you just want to know more about where your family lived. Check out, search for the Canadian Encyclopedia. And it's so nice that encyclopedias are electronic nowadays, so we don't have to go buy that 30-volume book set anymore. Anyway, great site for Canadian research. I will also be showing every once in a while a little tech tip or how to use the menus a little bit different. And when you see that, I will have it in the bottom corners, indicating that this is more of a tech tip and the genealogy tip than just the regular records. And my first one is, I don't know about you, but when I am searching for or want to go to the search screen of a record set, I don't open up the website. I don't go to myheritage.com and then click. And I don't do it for Ancestry or Family Search or any of the other record set websites either. I Google. I open up Google. I type in MyHeritage and what record do I want to see? What record set do I want to see? So, for example, MyHeritage Canada Census 1931, and I get a list, and it'll be the first one 9 times out of 10. Sometimes MyHeritage would be the second one because something else, some weird things in front of it. But that to me is the fastest way to find a record set rather than 10 clicks on a website, any website. So now also the handout was mentioned, and I know she's put it in there a few times. This is just a screenshot of the handout. It's 4 pages of Canadian records, and I have them organized by category, and then at the end I have each province in alphabetical order listing record sets for them. And as I kept working on this and looking for other new things, I found more. I'm going to share a couple of links that are not on the handout. The rest are on the handout, so you don't have to stress when I open a new record set. It'll be on the handout unless I had to put it on the screen. But there's so many. So cool. When I start searching in an area and I have my research log and everything I search for listed in that log, I will have different record sets that I search into for that specific area. When I find a record set that I like that works, every once in a while, they don't. Not on MyHeritage. MyHeritage is great. But then I create a separate document called the Table of Records. And it's just a list of record sets for a specific area. Because we know family members, sometimes they move around, but sometimes they come back to an area. And you might need the same record set a next generation or the previous generation or for cousins. And it's not as easy to go through the research log to find it. Yes, Control F for find would get you there kind of quickly. But what I do instead is I create this table of records, the list of records for a specific area. And again, as I work on my family, the object that I'm looking for, as I find different ones, I add to it. So it's continually growing. Here's the handout, as I mentioned. But so this is a starting point for your table of records for whichever province or all of Canada that you are researching. Now, this one is just in a Word document, and you can see what I did is I copied and pasted the URL right from the web browser and just pasted it in there, and Word makes it a hyperlink. Great. And then you just click on it. I saved the handout as a PDF. All of those links work. You just click on them and it will open up the search page for you. Now, one additional thing that I have done recently is made my table of records into Excel or into Google Sheets instead of Word. And I made columns for each decade. Well, I did 1700 as a century because that was the only one. And I might not do every decade for 1700s, maybe every 25 years. You decide. But from 1800 on to present day, I did every decade. My timeline records are in chronological order, but now when I have a family member who is in Lower Canada 1825 census or in the 1825s, I can see which column has the records that I can go find that family member in. I also entered the years that they start. Instead of 1800, it's 1807. I'm not sure I like that yet, but I also then added the hyperlinks right here. So when I need Ontario births, I'll have this open. I click on it. I can see which years it is, and I'm ready to search. I used my table of contents that you just saw as I created this PowerPoint. When I found a famous person, found out when they lived, I went down that column for that year and found the list of records that MyHeritage has for them. One other thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of history about Eastern Canada, Lower Canada, which is north, is Quebec, became Quebec in 1867 when Canada became Canada. Up to that was Canada East during the province of Canada time. Upper Canada, which was the south, went to Canada West. Now, when you're looking at Canadian records, when it says Canada West, that does not mean Western Canada. It's kind of us out here in the West, we kind of laugh because Ontario is Canada West. Western Canada starts at the end of Ontario. It's Manitoba on. So it's kind of funny, but at that time, that was Canada West, which became Ontario, and we're going to see that. So here's MyHeritage. It's the main page, and you click on the research tab, and it lists their organization, which is great. You can select all records. And when you do that for one person, it searches their whole huge database. If you don't know where your ancestor lived at a certain time, that can be handy because you're going to get the whole world. But if you know they're in Canada, then let's go here. MyHeritage has a page, a search page just for searching all Canadian records and only Canadian records. And this is the screenshot, and the link is in the handout. Then you can type in their name. I would suggest that you include the birth year. I don't know about you, but I'm surprised at how many people have my name and my spelling throughout the world. And so, until you start searching, you're going, where are these people coming from? So the year and the place helps. But really cool that you can do all of Canada, because if, they go off to some Western province, you can still find them. Well, let's start with sports. I'm going to end with sports, and I'm going to start with sports. And this person, many of you probably have heard of, and he was the founder, the person who created basketball. He's Canadian. He did work in the States for a while, but we claim him. And he was born in 1861. Parents die in 1870, so I want to find out what happened to him, who he was living with. It's mentioned that he moved in, and his siblings, with his Uncle Peter on mom's side. So here's the main screen for the 1871 Canada Census. I type in his name, his birth year, and the fact that he's living in Canada West when he's born in 1861. In 1867, then, where is he living? He's living in Ontario, because in 1871, then it would be labeled as Ontario. So we get a couple of records, and the top one looks like that's probably it. So I click on his name, and there's his record. Now, in brackets, you'll see some interesting spelling. That's French, the French version of those two words. And as you scroll down, then I found this at the bottom. And there's he with his older sister and younger brother. And Uncle Peter is really young. Interesting fact that here, Peter and Jonette Young are raising these three children. Good thing they've got grandma to help them. Really nice. I love how MyHeritage has put implied in brackets there, because there's no proof. Peter's mother, it could be an aunt, but it's a good starting point. So we need more evidence to prove exactly the relationship, but those are the most likely and implied. All right, so he's a famous person. So we're going to go to the Canadian newspapers list, and I'm going to do it a few times, and we're going to talk about their MyHeritage new newspaper site, because it's connected in some cases. So I search for him up here, and I get some results. Actually, 1,300 results. Well, maybe I don't want to know everything about him. I just want the basketball part. When you're searching, you'll find on their pages that it will say add details. And in this case, it says keywords. So I am going to click on keywords. In the box that appears that says keywords, I'm going to click inside there and type in whatever it is that I want to search for to help filter. And then I click on apply, and then I click on search again. And in this case, the keyword was basketball, and it worked. Now, I still got 1,300, but the records at the top now include his name and the word basketball. So the basketball articles are near the top. Another thing is, because he lives in Canada, United States, I want to have only the Canadian newspaper articles. Okay. Then I can do that. Under the add details, I can change the publication place and say Canada, or in Saskatchewan, or Calgary if I want, to be a little bit more specific. When you're looking at the Canadian newspapers, and this is from the Leader Post in Saskatchewan, you may see on the side here old news. So that's what was talked about earlier. This is huge and so much fun. I hope you've tried it out. I searched in it for my name, because, that's kind of fun. And there was a fun, interesting movie created in 1959 with my name being the lead, just my first name. But it was so much fun, so hilarious. It's also good for genealogy. Right. One of the great places to start when you're looking for your ancestors is the census records. It allows us to see as the family grows and moves on. And MyHeritage has a page that will allow you to search all Canadian census at the same time for one person. So I searched for William Diamond here. I said he's living in Alberta, and I get a list. And over here on the left-hand side, with my arrow there, there's the list of all the Canadian censuses that have William Diamond, and it tells me how many there are, how many records, how many hits are for each of them. It does say shows one more down here at the bottom. That's because the 1906 Canada Census is not listed. It just ran out of room. It's still being searched. It's just not listed right here for us. Nice way to hit multiple all at once. Okay, I want to go to Manitoba. My family, not so famous just to me, came from Ireland in 1842 and spent 40 years in Quebec before homesteading to Manitoba. I want to search some of the births of my Dowd family, specifically in this case, Edith, who I think was born around 1908. So I entered that in. And I found her, it turns out it was 1907, and I found her mother in the right area, in the Cypress. That's who I want. The other two isn't even Dowd. So now I need to know, here we go. Here's her mother's name. So I want a list now of the siblings, of Edith's siblings. What I do is I get rid of Edith's name. I just have Dowd in the last name. I put in mom's name in there, and that's it. No years included. And what my result is a list of Edith and her siblings, because each one of these, the mother is Maud. So very handy when you're looking for siblings of a direct ancestor and you want to know the rest of it. Search for mom, and what information you can use will depend on how the record set is. Does it include mom's maiden name or not? But a great way to find the siblings and start. Now, you might not find them all, but it will definitely help. MyHeritage also then has the death index, and that's the main page. And each one of these, when you go to the search page, has a wonderful description with read more about the year. So if the year's not included in the title, the description will help you on that. So I look for my family, and I just typed in Dowd. And interesting, Richard at the top. Yep, that's my family. But I then searched for James and found him and found his record, clicked on his name, found his record. And then I see in the bottom right, it says, we found more records for James Dowd. Ooh, kind of cool. I moved my mouse over James's name there on the first one, and the bar on the right appears on top of everything, and it gives us a chance to say yes or no, that is the family. That's the right person. Before clicking on their name, we can see it. This also illustrates where this is found. So this one is on the family search, family tree. This one is a census. So I clicked on his name and it came up with the record. I'm still in MyHeritage, but it does say, here's what I found on Family Search. Family Search and MyHeritage are partnering are in partnership with each other to help us find our family quicker and easier. So nice. Okay, so that's the page, but like I said, I'm still in MyHeritage. I'm coming, then I scroll down, and All these red are family members, and they are hyperlinks directly to Family Search. At the very bottom of it is the source. Click here to view on Family Search. Now I'm back to James's main page. I move my mouse over his name. There's the description. I go, yep, that's the right person. Those are the family members I know. And therefore I can click on his name and it gives me directly to the census record and highlights him and the rest. Missed. Okay, whenever you find this more records, look at them. Sometimes they're wrong. The William Diamond back a little while, that was an American person that it linked to, because there's so many, turns out, William Diamonds. So check out on the right. All right, let's have some fun. We had sports. Now we have to have movie theaters and so on. I can't show the video legally, but there's the link to this Canadian person. I didn't know, but you might know Mary Pickford. She was the first Canadian to win an Oscar, second female to win Best Actress, first to win for a film with sound. She's one of the founding members of Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Science. Her career in Hollywood spanned 5 decades, co-founded United Artists, and she was born in Toronto. And here's some more pictures and a plaque near her Toronto home. I want to know about her birth and her family, so I went to the Ontario Births and searched for her with her birthday, because, you know, we cheated, it's on IMDb, but I was able to find her there right at the top. That's her parents. I didn't enter in her father and mother's name, but I could have for more information. If you find it, great. If you don't, then start adding more information that you might know. Another Canadian record is the Jewish Gen Memorial Plaques. And it has more than Canada, so you want to make sure you include, but it worked great for my Canadian records. So William Diamond was very involved in the Jewish community in Edmonton and in Calgary. And I found him there. Well, there was a few of them. These are just the top 2. So I started with the top 1. And yes, that's who I want. Oh, here's the William. You see this one is not quite what I want, but that's okay. Whenever you are, you find a record, you'll see this save record up here at the top. And when you want to add it to a member of your tree on MyHeritage, then click that save record. It will ask you which family tree. So you click on the little down arrow and your list of family trees will appear. Click on the one and then click in or type in the name of the ancestor on that family tree you want this to be attached to. So nice. Now, we talked about more records. When you're going between a page that has like 5 or 6 different, hey, there's more records here, you don't want to leave the screen you're on. You want to save it, see it, come back to it without having to hit back arrows. So when I have a nice index with hyperlinks to new web pages, what I do is I right click on the hyperlink. And when I right click, a little menu, contextual menu appears, and the top item is open link in new tab. Now I have a new tab with that other record, but I still have my index to come back to easily. Now, sometimes it won't say, it'll say back. Okay, so then you can't do it. But this is worth trying out to help us. When you're searching for somebody in the Canadian records and any records, like newspaper here, when you type in the year, it comes down here and says, match year exactly. And I go, no, I don't want to match the year exactly. I want a range. Well, that's actually what you have to do. It's kind of scary the first time. But you click on that match year exactly, and a menu appears of the different options. What kind of range do you want? So you click on the match year exactly, but then you decide where, or you can say just this year. Once you do that, then you click on apply, and then you click on search. Okay, we're halfway through, but not time for Timbits yet. So let's go to something else very Canadian. For those who are not Canadian, Timbits are the donuts from the donut holes. You'll see. Okay. What do Anne of Green Gables and potatoes have in common? Now, I'm assuming you know Anne of Green Gables is Canadian, and you kind of have to, Canadian Americans will know some of this. Famous potato company in Canada and some of the United States is called Cavendish. It's also the town in which the author of Anne of Green Gables lived, and her museum now. I hope you know who Anne of Green Gables is. If not, you have some books to read. So Lucy Maud Montgomery was born in 1874 in PEI, Prince Edward Islands. There's mom, dad, but she was raised by some grandparents. So MyHeritage has PEI births and baptisms. So I entered her name and just her name in there, and I found her with her parents' names. Scroll down, and I picked the 1881 Canada Census to look for her. This actually isn't her, as you can see there, but she was not found. Probably because she was around someplace else at the time. I searched for her uncle, didn't find him, so I searched for her aunt, found the aunt. So once, even though you can't find one person, search for under family members. I had one instance, couldn't find mom and had to search for a child, and then found mom with the wrong spelling. So that was not on MyHeritage, that was on another record. But so the children here listed, Lucy's not mentioned on this record. And here, as a child, she's not mentioned, but when you scroll all the way down to the bottom with the household and who's living there, there's Lucy. Always scroll to the bottom, look at the records if you can. And the picture on the right is her at age 8, so just a couple of years afterwards. Now, I'm going to go to the newspaper because she's famous and I can find more information about her. And on the left is the different collections that include her name, that name. Right. My first time speaking at Roots Tech was 2018. And when I was teaching, I always ask everybody to open up their phones and let's see if you got cousins around. And this lady is my 7th cousin, which is the closest I ever get at Roots Tech. And we're related. So we had to look up, of course, how are we related? She is from New Orleans. And yes, I have her permission to use that. And we go back to Acadia, New France, and how a lot of people, French, were sent down, down to the New Orleans area. So we've got this Nova Scotia. Now, really cool. MyHeritage has for each province a page where you can say, okay, Nova Scotia, MyHeritage, and it lists all of the record sets for that province. And it says here there are 15 collections just for Nova Scotia. And some of like the bottom one there is the history and some interesting items I have not seen on other websites. Some good history stuff. Now, this record set doesn't say the age, the years, but when you move your mouse over it, then you get a little description box and it tells you the years that it covers. And I was able to find some family that I can now do a life history of how we join and the people descended from them. And this is the Pouillet. I checked out newspapers to find out more because there's the family history. Now, when you're in newspapers and other lists, in the top right, you will see 2 icons. This is called the card view. It's not as wide. When you click on, and it's in orange, saying that's what you're looking at. And then if you click on the right icon there, this is table view. And it gives you a little bit more information before you want to click on view and go to that direct record. Check that out in the top right. Now, if I want changes on spelling, not spelling, but pronunciation or spelling variations, you can click into the name field. And again, there's the match name exactly. Or you can select variations, match the initials, or starts with specific letters. All of that may help you find the correct person. So this is Michel Pouillet, and I said any variation because it's French and sometimes the English mess it up. So that can be helpful. And LeBlanc was the other family, and I found some cool articles about them. All right, now I need Ontario, MyHeritage Ontario, Canada. I'm going to Google, and here's the Ontario collection. Another one you want to Google is Canada directories. There are 21 unique, and they are unique and really cool. Henderson directories in Canada are amazing. They're telephone books. They're digitized. Well, they're kind of like telephone books. There's a little bit different. Just interesting, unique ones I haven't seen other places. World War I records. Here are some of them. And I'm going to go into Canadian soldiers. And one of the, I don't know, there's so many, but one that a lot of people recognized is John McCrae. He was born in Ontario, 1872. If the name sounds familiar, but you're not sure why, it's the poppy would give it away. He wrote on Flanders, in Flanders Fields. So I wanted to search and find out more about his family. I went to, and what did he do during the war? Searched for his record and found it. He was at the top. And his 2-page record is available to read and to go through. Another cool military one is letters from the front. So Canadian Bank of Commerce, CIBC, has this list of letters and correspondence back and forth in the war of their employees who went off and served, who were employees before the war started and then went and served. And there's 1,128 of these records. That's the link because it's not on the handout. And here, so this record gives, this might be a relative, so that's why it's here, the father's name, what his job was at the bank beforehand, and what he did after the war, his education. Amazing information. Here's another person who was mentioned in dispatch. That's where they went through the dispatches and found their names and they're distinguished. And again, a lot of information about when they started working, what they did during the war, and of course, sometimes they didn't come home. Great information, and that's the link again. Canada, United States, they talk about Ireland and Scotland and how people went back and forth because there's like 20 miles between them. Canada, United States, there's no miles, and they did it all the time. So here's Lucy Montgomery, who did go into the States. This actually is not her, but anyway, this one is her married name and her husband, and they rented a house for $20, single house. There's 8 rooms, but they did not have a radio, which is included in this information. Really cool. The 1931 census here is kind of crossed off, but it says she's a writer. That's what that says right there. She works at home, and they had $500 a year, and they got crossed off. And the children are students. So 1931 is the latest census, and we have to wait 9 more years till the next one. No, not quite. We're down a couple years. Here's a record of a possible ancestor of mine going back and forth across the border, and you can print these. I save them as a PDF and then print them when I need them. Here's the addresses. Look at this manifest, the same document. It's got her addresses in both places, as well as heights and age to verify it's her. Amazing information on these two. So I searched, found Daniel, and they are upside down, the second one, because it's the flip version. But how did I print it? Well, in the top right-hand corner is this icons. These icons up there, here they are. I can print from the web page. I can download it and then have a copy. And I can also exit the full screen to get back to the other screen to be able to see this, and I lightened it up. All right, 1921 Canada Census. There's a person in here named Edwin L. Zoe Boyd. He was born in 1914. And I want to know a little bit more about him, and you'll see why in just a second. His father's name was wrong in the first record, so I filled in more information to make sure I had the right one. Added it, and that helped. I viewed it. There I found him and his younger brother. And there's just a copy of what it looks like in the census record. His father left for World War I. Shortly, he was 1 when his dad went off to war. And there's his dad's signature. It's really cool. Why did I include him? Well, I had to have a bad guy. So by 22, he's in Saskatchewan in the penitentiary because of things he'd done out there. Then he escapes and he got a group together and they robbed 7 more banks until they were caught. And then he broke out with 2 new accomplices and they robbed 4 more banks until he was caught again. And then in 1952, he escaped again. And the breaking news of his escape was on the first news story for Toronto's first TV station. This TV station is CBLT. And the newscaster who reported this was Lauren Green. I put in a later version of him while he was on Bonanza. And Lauren Green was born in Ottawa, Jewish immigrants, and we can search for him in the Jewish record. So Canadian directories have lots of information, residents of Canada, phone numbers, and people living together, listing the dates and the decades. You can watch how a family goes through. Also on MyHeritage. Let's check out the 1901 Canada census. I have Eliza Diamond, and I just want to illustrate 1901 is very unique in 2 reasons. Here she is. Her husband is up in the Yukon looking for gold. He was too late. He comes back before 1906. So here, when you're looking at the record, you get to see here's what you look for. Here's your family name. And right beside it is the actual record. In here, it lists their birth dates and where they were born. Oh, so nice. What it also does is there's a column for color. And Eliza is identified as red, meaning that she is First Nations. She's actually Métis, but they qualified them as First Nations most of the time back then. You would call them in the United States North American Indians. And they had Y for yellow and a variety of colors for B for black. And you can find that information on the Library and Archives Canada website. It also said that she was from SB. Being First Nations, I thought Saddleback, because that's a group in the Edmonton area where she was near. But no, when I went to the Library and Archives Canada, it actually said that because she's Métis, the other half, the white size is Scottish background. Okay. Now, Captain Arthur Roy Brown is given credit for shooting down the Red Baron. Technically, they say, no, it was guns from the ground, but he helped, okay, even if he didn't do it. So 1931, again, trying to look for him. I don't think it is. So I added his spouse's name in there. It then finds it, even though it is spelled a little bit differently. And here's their record. When you're looking at this, in the top left, there is plus and minuses. That allows you to zoom in and zoom out of this record. I also use the control key and my mouse ball to do that. Over on the right, what happens if the record is split between pages? No problem. Just click the greater than sign or the less than sign to go back. I don't know about you, but when I'm researching, I have multiple screens open, tabs open for the same person at the same time as I'm looking all of these. I love how MyHeritage on the left reminds us which page this is. What record set am I looking at? I love that. All right, now this, you really have to be Canadian to know who this is. But she is a famous painter, Emily Carr, and she's in British Columbia. So I looked at to find her records, and I did. There's her death record and when she was approximately born. Trying to hit all provinces, or at least I've gone now from east to west. Frances Gertrude McGill was all of those items. I have to include RCMP at least once, and she worked extensively with the RCMP. She was instrumental in establishing the first RCMP forensic lab, and she directed it for 3 years while training new recruits. She was born in Manitoba and lived in Saskatchewan. Regina is the hub and has been for RCMP, so she was living in Regina as she did this work. She was named the Sherlock Holmes of Saskatchewan. And I love this quote. This was her advice to students, which I think as genealogists we can relate to. Don't believe all the death certificates you see. Yes. Different angle here. There's no reason why a man with heart disease can't have died of strychnine poisoning. Okay. So in the 1906 and 1916, Canada had a census just for Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Alberta and Saskatchewan became provinces in 1905. And so they did this off just twice, but wonderful for us looking for records in Western Canada, well, the prairie provinces. BC got left out. They've been around for a while. So I searched for her, found her, 1906. And it was interesting because I found her as a boarder with Armstrong. I'd have to research to see if this is distant family that she's working for. She did grow up on a farm. Looks like she might be helping with a farm in this little town west of Winnipeg. Something fun to research. To go along with that, Canadian DNA, I love on all my matches that if they're from Canada, there's the cute little red maple leaf. Makes it easier. All right, I said I would start with sports and I'd end with sports. And I saw there's a couple people from Edmonton, and we're all sad today, just a little bit, because hockey's Canada's national winter sport, and the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup playoffs and they lost last night. So the Stanley Cup is not coming back to Canada, but it was Florida's first time to win. So, and they lost last anyway. We're a little sad, but we'll deal with it. This image I've seen 15 years at least, because this is us as Canadians. This is true, especially during the playoffs. And Tim Hortons, very famous coffee and donut shop throughout Canada. It's kind of an icon. And the Timbits is my favorite, and the white hot chocolate. They're not known for coffee, but I don't have any. So how come it's so famous? Well, because it was founded by Tim Horton, who was a hockey player. born in 1930, died in 74. And that's, we appreciate that. Kind of puts in our two hobbies here. When I went to newspapers, there was 1.5 million articles with Tim Hortons. The problem is that a lot of them were about stores and ads and trying to get employees to come work for them. So what I did instead is I wanted to know about his death or his birth. And so I changed the publication date to a specific year to decrease the amount. Well, it didn't decrease the amount. I still have the 1.5, but the articles at the top will be from 1974. If you want to learn more about researching in Canada, I have 5 other Canadian sessions amongst some other ones. I hope you check out. You'll learn some history and more culture and Canadian society.
Thank you, Leanne. That was great.
Welcome.
Lots of great Canadian resources to find, and I love the addition of the famous people in the history that you sprinkled throughout that. That was great.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a little break for a moment or two. I'll do some announcements and door prizes, and then I'll bring you back on for the Q&A. So let's switch back over to my computer. Oops. I don't think I did that right. Oh, maybe you are seeing it. You're seeing my screen? Yeah, you are. That's fine. Okay, good. All right. So our next MyHeritage webinar is 10 Reasons Why MyHeritage is a Genealogist's Best Friend by Melissa Barker, and that's going to be on Tuesday, July 9th. You can go to this URL that you see on your screen here to sign up, because you need to get the link so that you could attend the webinar. So put down on your calendar July 9th for that one with Melissa. Melissa does a terrific job. And you can watch more MyHeritage webinars in the Legacy Library. Many, many webinars about MyHeritage, and some are specific to particular databases, things like that. Some are specific to apps, and some cover DNA. And some are particular regions in the world, all different sorts of things. You can kind of get an idea right here just from the different topics that you see. So you can go directly to that, filmtreewebinars.com/MyHeritage. That'll take you to all the webinars in the library from MyHeritage. And you can watch more of Leanne's webinars in the Legacy Library. She has a direct link as well. So go to familytreewebinars.com/Leanne Kruger. In addition to her Canada webinars, she's got a couple technology webinars. All right, let's give out a door prize or two. So let me get my pen ready so I can write down your name. And I am going to give the first one out here to Shirley Connors. So congratulations, Shirley. You have won a copy, a one-year subscription to Old News. And Old News is that new newspaper subscription that MyHeritage announced at Roots Tech in March 2024. And just to clarify what Leanne was showing you, it's similar to some other sites where the subscription sites start off with newspapers incorporated into the subscription, and then they create a dedicated newspaper site. So there are still, if you have a subscription to MyHeritage, you can access newspapers. But the oldnews.com site, that is a dedicated news-only site. And you can get that either with a separate subscription, or you can get the new Omni subscription, which gives you access to everything. So congratulations to Shirley, who will be able to try that out for a year. That'll be fun. All right, and then our next door prize is a MyHeritage DNA kit. And You gotta love those. I just love to see what all my ethnicity breakdowns are. And I also really like to see my European connections, because MyHeritage has more European connections than any other site. And I have some fairly recent European connections from the UK and Czech Republic and France. So it's nice when those appear. All right. This prize is going to go out to Michael Yano. So congratulations, Michael. You've got yourself a MyHeritage DNA test kit. I will be sending emails to Shirley and to Michael with instructions on how to get your prizes. So please be on the lookout for those. And if you don't see them, please check your spam folder. And if you enjoy our webinars, we hope you'll check out Legacy Family Tree webinars. We do make our webinars available for a week for free, but after that, they go into a member library. And if you join as a member, then you get access, unlimited anytime access to everything in our library. And now we will bring on Leanne, and we'll ask her some of these questions.
I was enjoying the chat. Somebody from South Florida said she was happy for the Panthers, and that's good. Yeah.
Yep.
And then Edmonton, sad, but
Yep. Well, that's the way it goes in sports. Of course, I'm in Boston, so we're very happy right now because the Boston Celtics just won the NBA championship. So that was very nice.
Yeah.
So everybody was happy in my house. So, all right.
And somebody's grandfather served under John McCrae. That's really cool.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay. So Carol wants to know, do we presume that all birth indexes or census records will have the mother's maiden name?
No, that was really nice. A lot of them do in Canada, but not everyone. No.
Is that mostly the French Canadian records that have the maiden name? Is that what that's all about?
Oh yeah, French Canadian records are amazing.
Because they don't change the name, right? They,
It depends, but they were just the Catholic Church and Quebec records are just very informative, very well done.
Okay. Oh, and Carol also wants to know, how recent do these these vital records go? She's wondering 2015. I'm guessing they don't go to 2015 because of privacy.
Yeah, Canada's privacy law is greater than stricter than United States' are.
Okay.
So it depends on the record set, but ordering them, it's 70 years and 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
100 years for births?
For births, yeah.
Okay.
And 70 for deaths. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. I should have that on hand. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. That is fine. Okay, here's a question from Bo. Bo says, for border crossing cards. Now, some of these questions are more Canada related than specifically what you were showing. So if you don't know the answer, that's fine. Just tell us that. So for border crossing cards, if the same person crossed 3 times, is that 3 separate cards or just 1 card?
I believe they're 3 separate cards because it's like passport.
I would think they would be separate.
Yeah. And there's very specific because I grew up on the Ontario-Minnesota border. I could see United States across the river, which wasn't that big. And it was great on July 1st coming up, Canada Day. On Monday, lots of fireworks, watched it. And then I could watch the American side on the 4th.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's nice.
But every time we crossed, it's not recorded because they didn't ask our name. It would be for something specific.
All right. Some people are sending in some comments about different provinces here. Is it a thing in Canada? I'm really sorry. I don't really know much about Canadian research,
okay.
but is it a thing in Canada that the laws are different at the province level or at the federal
Yep.
level? Yeah, at the
No,
province level. Okay.
province level. Pretty
Okay.
well, they're all standard with privacy, but how to get the records to order them in is completely different. You do it on at the province
Okay.
if you want a copy, and you have to prove if it's before the 70 years or the 100, you have to prove you're a descendant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And Judy is asking, how do you locate the province page? Now, I got to the Canada page and I saw like a location section, but I didn't see like a direct link. So is that what you're referring to, or?
I would just Google MyHeritage, Nova Scotia, and
Okay.
and then hit enter, and you'll get to their provincial page with the list of all the records.
All right.
And then right click on the one you want, and it will open up that page for you.
Well, you're right. That works really well. So I'm gonna. So I just did exactly what Leanne said. I Googled it, and then it just brought me to a link for Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
But you can do the same thing, I think. Oh, let me try that again. Oh, so
within MyHeritage,
you can go to the Canada collection page. Here, I'll put the Canada collection page there, and you can try this for yourself. All right, so I'll put the Canada collection page there. And then if you go down to refine by location, click on refine further, it shows you Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick. Oh, Newfoundland and Labrador. There's one database. Somebody was asking about that. Nova Scotia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, Saskatchewan, and Yukon. And then you can click on those individually. The nice thing about this little pull down, this little refine by location, is it shows you how many databases there are per section. So like Ontario, there's 32, and Quebec, there's 44. And then Nova Scotia was 16. So those are the top 3 covered by MyHeritage. So that's pretty nice.
Huge, very nice. Somebody mentioned they just found out that they have French Canadian ancestry, or his wife does, or some family member. So there you go. 32 Quebec ones, did you say?
44 Quebec ones, 32 Ontario. So, of course, Quebec and all the provinces in Canada are very important. But in terms historically, I would say Ontario and Quebec are in the east and probably have earlier history. Shall I say it like that?
Let's go for history. They've been around longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Lots longer.
There you go. Coming from Boston, I'm on the early side of American U.S. history as well. So.
Yeah, Alberta were the later ones.
Let's see.
And one thing, just a tip about Western Canada. If your family was out here before 1905, Saskatchewan or Alberta, it is under Northwest Territories, but a lot of time the region will say Alberta under Northwest Territories. So.
Right, I am going to. Somebody said, "Can we see your screen?" And oops, that would be the logical thing to do, wouldn't it? To share my screen and let you see. Oh, but that's all right.
Yeah, there's Canada.
So here we go to Canada, and then refine by location. Canada, refine further. You can refine by years. But say we go into this, now you can see that breakdown that I was just telling you about. And let's go to Newfoundland. Let's see what that's all about. Canada, Newfoundland, and Labrador deaths. So that's a death database there, 59,000. All right, you can just go back. But let me show you the other thing. Let's get rid of that maps part of that. Oops, I did not do that right. There we go. There we go. All right. So if I do MyHeritage, sorry, say typing live, Nova Scotia, and it just brings you straight to that. So that's really nice. So
that's what I do all the time.
Yep. And then you got 16 collections, and you can just go down and you see the census, marriages, deaths, index, baptism, births.
See, and then you got these cool
histories,
history, shipping. Yeah.
Charles DeWolf of Guadeloupe, family history. Strange. Yeah, so there's lots of stuff you can find. So Google works too. You can just do it that way. All right, let's see what else we have here. We'll do.
And then if I know I want the Canada census, then the 1911. Then I just type in MyHeritage 1911 census, Canada census, and
that makes sense.
You have to include Canada because UK also has a 1911.
Oh, right. So John wants to know, in French Canadian documents, baptism names and their common names are often reversed. So I guess they put the surname first. What name format is most commonly used for best search results? I wouldn't think it would matter, since they're connecting the names to like a first name and a last name field.
Yes, I just follow the normal first and last name.
So if
it'll find it.
Let's see. If we go to, we'll go to Quebec, and we'll look at one of these. Marriages. See, they've already broken out the first name and the last name, so it doesn't matter where in the document it is, because it's going to just search for it. See, and it figures it out for you. So, regardless, I think it's not something you have to worry about in your search strategy.
And if you don't get any, then switch it.
All right, let's see.
I've never had an issue finding the name.
All right, and
because they were indexed that way. They would have indexed them.
Mm-hmm.
They would have taken the record and said, "Okay, this is the first name. This is the last name."
So. Now, of course, if you don't find what you're looking for, you could reverse it. In case there was a problem with the indexing, maybe the person didn't realize it was a surname and indexed it incorrectly. Then. Those are the techniques that we use in all genealogy, regardless of where somebody would be from, because you'll do anything to try and find your ancestors in these databases. Right. Jan Marie, she wants to know, would an Irishman who served in the Canadian military during World War I be included in the records?
Not usually, but worth a shot. I would check.
Interesting. So they wouldn't put them in the records unless they were Canadian?
Yeah. The British, because they're still kind of under the British, so they're usually with the British records.
Oh.
Even though Canadians, we're under the British.
Right. That's good perspective. As someone from the United States, I don't often think like that. So that makes sense.
Part of So if England goes to war, we are part of it.
Okay.
Down in the Boer War, not just.
I'm just checking here for some other questions. Oh, okay. So. Michelle is saying, how do we limit the search for a person to Canadian Quebec records? So I'm just going to show you since it's on my screen, if that's okay, Leanne.
They use the add details helps. Oh, you just want Quebec records?
Yeah, they want Quebec. So how would you do it?
Google MyHeritage, Quebec.
Okay. And then, all right, so let's just do Google. MyHeritage Quebec. All right. And then search for collection or keyword. So if you use this search here, then it's just going to search in this collection of these 44 Quebec. So that's how you would do it.
I love the fact that the French newspapers came up.
Oh,
even like it's not in the title,
right?
But that's very good.
Yeah, you mean it doesn't say like Quebec right there, but it came up anyways. Yeah, so it's smart.
Yes. Somebody mentioned. Let me see if I can see. Oh, a tip from somebody in the audience is instead of printing the whole document, that PDF that I was talking about, printing it from the screen, you get a lot of dark black strips. And so they do a screenshot and then crop from the screenshot the thick black border. So, because nobody wants to waste all that ink. Precious ink saves lots, they say. So, yes. And that's why a lot of times I'll download it and then mess with it before I print. But that's smart. Good comment.
All right, Leanne, this has been wonderful. Thank you for spending some time with us today to show us Canadian records on MyHeritage. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, and thank you very much.
And thanks to our audience for joining us today. And I hope we'll see you all on July 9th for the next MyHeritage webinar with Melissa Barker. See y'all then. Bye-bye.